Welcome to the Pioneer Startup Network Day 1 Post Show. I'm Lauren McNair alongside Alexis Jennings. Today we saw fascinating interviews from mixed reality to sports media.
In one of our first sessions of the day, Mixed Reality, Present and Future, President of SphereGen Technologies, Ted Dinsmore, took us on an exciting journey through the world of mixed reality. Dinsmore was joined by UConn professor Howard Winston, who gave a demonstration of how he uses mixed reality in the classroom. Here's a recap of Dinsmore's session.
There are a number of applications on the mixed reality platform that's come out. We tend to focus on the medical space, so we do have Case Western Reserve came out with Hollow Anatomy, which essentially is how you teach a med student everything about the body, and what essentially it's a do-it-yourself for a med student. So you could actually literally be working from home with a HoloLens rather than have a cadaver and go through it. You could do it holographically.
So the first thing I need to do is I want to anchor my holograms. I'm just going to pick my HoloLens case here. Just tap that. And that little green box represents a spatial anchor. And you can see it's just beginning to map out my room a little bit. So hopefully you guys can see this. This is in 3D. It's sort of behind my wall, but I can walk around. I'll try to do it slowly. I don't want to get anybody dizzy. And you can see the magnetic field, velocity, which is kind of dark, and then that green force vector. And you can walk around. Indeed, it's 3D. I'll just show you, just for time purposes, I'll show you one of the menus. You can vary many different parameters here to play with this. So I'm just going to bring up a menu here. If I want to play with changing the charge, I can just do that. And you can see I've got a nice floating panel here used to make those changes. So one thing I can do is go from positive to negative. This confuses students a lot. So you can see the positive charge is rotating counterclockwise. But if I point to negative and tap on that, I could do a voice command also.
Following Dinsmore, Ellen Ornato and Jenny Drescher from the Boulder Company focus on the physicality of presenting. This session, Show Up With Presence, challenge participants to plan for how they present themselves and reminds them to be present in their presence.
So we're going to ask you to do something at home. As I mentioned before about playing with the camera, playing with the angles, playing with the microphone. We also are going to now invite you to play with the whole of the instrument that is your body, because part of how you show up with presence and with confidence, whether you are live in person in front of an audience in an auditorium, or you are virtual and your performance space is this big, is to recognize that you are in a body, you are in an instrument. And what you're communicating has as much to do with how you use this instrument as any words that you will choose.
If you'd like more information about us, you can go to thebouldercompany.com. We'd love to hear from you. And you can join us any Wednesday at 11:30 at something called the B Boulder Jam. And what we do there is we run improv exercises and help people process what they mean and how they work in their lives. And almost always, there's a room full of people laughing together. So if that's something you need, if you need to feed your need for connection over the winter, join us any Wednesday on the Be Boulder Jam, where we're building resilience skills that will take us out of the space that we're in and into being together in person again.
Let's hear some tips on the best ways to reflect and improve on past projects from Joe Pilkovich.
I can't count the amount of times I've worked on a project for months, only to move on to the next thing the second it's done, before really ever stopping to consider how things went along the way or what my team could do to improve. One way to help with this is to run a short activity that we call the 4L retrospective. This is something that you can do by yourself or with your entire team. To begin, you'll give all participants a Sharpie marker and a Post-it pad and designate an area on the wall to work with. If you're working remotely, you can use a tool like Miro instead. You'll begin by setting up 4 columns for your retrospective with the following labels: loved, lacked, learned, and longed for. Setting a 5-minute timer, you'll ask your team to think back on the last project or period of time and try to remember the highs and lows. What was memorable? What issues came up? What new things did you try? What do you wish you did? Above anything else, remember to be candid about your experience. Capture all thinking silently, one idea per post-it note, and when the timer ends, post all thoughts under their respective labels, making sure to expand on what each thought was and why. From there, we recommend creating a 5th column called Actions to capture notes and to make decisions on what you'll do better, differently, or carry forward to the next project. Remember, real progress is the result of measuring change over time. The more you stop to consider how you can improve after each completed project, the better both your team and the work product will become.
Today, we also got to dive into the sports media industry with Sacred Heart professors Brian Thorne and Paul Pabst. In their session, Launching a Career in Sports Media, Pabst and Thorne gave viewers great insight on how to get started in the media industry. Here are some takeaways from what they shared with viewers.
There are all of a sudden a lot of opportunities that didn't exist 10 years ago for people that are in their 20s, which I think is great. And I have noticed that even the crews that travel with them, they're generally also late 20s, early 30s. So that's an interesting thing to see. And then because of digital platforms, I'm also seeing more shows pop up entirely. So again, I'll use the Masters this year as an example. It used to just be ESPN/CBS coverage. Now there's all sorts of, now you have masters.com coverage, PGA Tour Productions. They're at basically every golf event, and that's an online, subscription kind of sourced thing. And then I worked with Bellator for years, and it used to just be on Spike TV, and then it went to Paramount. Well, now it's on CBS Sportsnet. So with Fox Sportsnet, CBS Sportsnet, Peacock, all of these online streaming services, there are opportunities that didn't exist 5 years ago because of all these digital platforms.
Professor Pabst?
Yeah, I would add to that it does seem like you don't have to go through the front door anymore to get into the sports media. You don't have to just send resumes and hope, like when I came out of college. Now you can create your own thing. If you have a laptop and any type of decent camera or even an iPhone, you create your own show. Katie Nolan from ESPN is a multi-million-dollar contract, and she started doing YouTube videos out of her crappy apartment in New York City.
That was a great way to end the first day of the Pioneer Startup Network. I'm Alexis Jennings alongside Lauren McNair. Be sure to tune in at 8:30 tomorrow morning for day 2 of the Pioneer Startup Network. Have a great night.